Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so right now there is this totally dramatic, profound power shift happening over in Geneva at the UN's July 2026 Global AI Governance Summit. And today we're going to break down exactly what it all means. This really isn't just another boring diplomatic meeting. It's an absolutely critical effort by the international community to create a universal framework for managing artificial intelligence. And let me tell you, it is literally splitting the tech world wide open. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the summit, I want you to stop and ask yourself something. Who actually writes the rules for AI? Seriously, think about it. Who controls the technology that's actively shaping your digital world, your personal data, and, well, your reality? Right now, is it just a handful of massive tech corporations and wealthy countries operating behind closed doors? Or should it be a true global consensus where every single nation actually has a voice at the table? Well, to answer that, we've got to look at the UN Global Dialogue on AI Governance. Guys, this is an absolutely unprecedented intervention. We're talking about a massive, coordinated effort designed to align this lightning-fast tech with human safety on a worldwide scale. The core mission here? It's basically to snatch the power to write tech rules away from those wealthy, exclusive little clubs and place it right into a global forum where universal, fair rules can actually be debated and drafted. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the battle for AI. Then look at rewriting the rulebook, dive into the power struggle, talk about your digital future, and finally look at the giant loopholes. All right, let's jump right into part one, the battle for AI. This summit is juggling four massive goals all at once. First up, establishing global guardrails, essentially creating universally accepted safety rules to prevent catastrophic harms from these advanced systems. Second is bridging the digital divide, which means making sure AI tools and data infrastructure are actually distributed to developing nations so the benefits are shared by everyone, not just the wealthy. Third, they want to protect human rights by anchoring AI rules in international law, safeguarding your right to free expression. And fourth, ensuring information integrity, which basically means developing real methods to fight the AI-generated lies, deepfakes, and hate speech that are actively weakening public trust. Moving on to Section 2, let's talk about rewriting the rulebook. You see, they aren't treating this like some flashy corporate tech keynote. They're actually following a very strict, multi-layered diplomatic pathway. Negotiators are building on the 2024 Global Digital Compact to find some common ground. Now, here in July 2026, they're gathering global feedback and debating whether these rules should be totally voluntary or strictly enforceable. And all of this sets the stage for a formal UN mandate review scheduled between 2027 and 2028, where nations will finally decide on legally binding treaties. And the best part? They aren't just making educated guesses here. Actually, scratch that. They aren't guessing at all. These policy negotiations are grounded in hard, scientific assessments. The whole process is backed by the independent International Scientific Panel on AI, which reports on what these systems can and absolutely cannot safely do. All of this is established under UN General Assembly Resolution ARES/79/325. We've got coordinating agencies like the ITU and UNESCO running the daily sessions, making sure that practical, real-world tech solutions are actually tied to the policy. Okay, moving right along to Section 3, the power struggle. As you might guess, bringing the whole world together creates some intense friction. It's like a giant puzzle where the pieces don't quite fit. On one side, you have the frontier developers, this tiny, elite group of tech companies and powerful nations, mainly the US and China, holding all the most advanced AI models. They definitely prefer business-friendly, voluntary, industry-led rules. But on the other side, you have the global south, civil society, and academics, and they're demanding binding international rules, strict accountability, and real data privacy laws. Why? Because developing nations absolutely refuse to be forced into adopting technologies and values that they had zero hand in creating. And making things even messier are the deep geopolitical rivalries. Look, major global powers aren't just treating AI as the next cool consumer product. They view it as a vital national security asset. This makes them incredibly hesitant to share control or agree to any kind of deep external oversight. Getting sovereign nations to just hand over the keys to their most powerful technological weapons, that is a monumental diplomatic hurdle for sure. Which brings us to Section 4, your digital future. So how does this actually affect you? Well, the summit kicks off this really fascinating chain reaction. First, the UN introduces this unified platform. Second, that platform successfully challenges those exclusive tech clubs that used to write all the rules. Third,
This sudden shift gives developing nations the leverage they need to demand local computing power and data centers. And fourth, tech companies are literally forced to either modify their business models to comply with these new global standards or risk getting outright banned in specific regions. The end result? Your daily digital environment is completely reshaped from the ground up.
And you can see how this ripples out to literally everyone. For everyday citizens like us, we're going to see clearer labels on AI-generated content, giving us the actual tools we need to spot deepfakes. If you're a software developer, you're going to face new global expectations to integrate responsible AI principles and bias checks directly into your products. Tech investors? They'll have to pivot their funding away from pure speed and push it toward compliance and safety testing. And developing economies will finally get public services, schools, and hospitals equipped with localized AI tools that actually fit their specific cultural needs. Finally, let's hit Section 5, the giant loopholes. Now, despite all these ambitious plans, there is a massive, glaring issue we have to talk about. It's called the speed gap. There's this fundamental mismatch between the technology and the regulation. Think about it. Artificial intelligence capabilities advance in mere weeks. A new model drops, and boom, it changes the world overnight. Meanwhile, international diplomatic negotiations, as we saw with that timeline stretching out to 2028, take years. By the time the ink is even dry on these treaties, the rules might already be completely outdated.
Plus, there are a few other massive structural roadblocks. For starters, the UN basically lacks any real enforcement teeth to actually punish tech companies or nations that violate its guidelines. Then, there's a huge risk of regulatory fragmentation. If major powerhouses refuse to sign the final declarations, the tech world is going to fracture into completely incompatible regional rules. And finally, corporate capture. Highly funded tech companies can easily use their immense wealth and deep technical expertise to overwhelm policymakers, basically turning independent oversight into corporate-friendly PR.
So, that leaves us with one final, absolutely crucial question to chew on today. As this unprecedented power struggle over your digital future unfolds in Geneva, with literally everything from your personal data to global security on the line, is it structurally possible for international diplomacy to ever outpace the algorithm? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep a close eye on Geneva, and I'll see you all next time.